My name is Youssef Zakharia. I am the President and CEO of Fresh Del Monte. Thank you all for the opportunity to speak with you today. I really appreciate your time. TEDx events like this one are more important than ever, especially in the context of our volatile, uncertain, complex, and so ambiguous world that we live in today. Our social business worlds need the power of connection to come together in such forums and share ideas. We must work together if we want to make progress in life, in our careers, and for our world. It is with those thoughts in mind that I would like us to think about what it really means to bridge that gap. Let us start with the gap that we unfortunately are all very familiar with, which is COVID-19. Certainly, this extraordinary situation created multiple gaps in the way we commonly live our lives. From toilet papers, to sanitizer, to even being together with friends and family, we had to reevaluate what is essential, what could be optional. But most importantly, we realized that we have today could disappear tomorrow in a blink of an eye. And therefore, we learned not to take things for granted and value what we have under a different light. So gaps are not always negative in nature and could be seen as opportunities. Opportunities to learn, to adapt, and also to improve. I will share with you a life example of taking something for granted, experiencing the gap, and the innovation that comes after to adapt and survive. During the Lebanese Civil War, started in 1975, due to heavy bombardments of the city, we lost power, and consequently, our water supply to the building in which we lived. One day, we turned the faucet on and there were no more water flowing through. The fact that water could no longer be pumped to the building reservoir created for us a problem. So to adapt to this situation, we invented a system of cranes to lift the water up to all the floors of the building. Most of you listening in would never think of a day when you turn the faucet on and the water doesn't flow, or turn your light switch on and darkness remains. So why do we waste so much and take things for granted as a society? It comes back to what is known as the perception gap. It is the space between what we believe in, such as the world being infinite, and the things we need will always be there for us, and the reality which is the fact that resources are not limitless, and that it takes globally coordinated efforts to ensure the continuity we enjoy in our modern lifestyles. Which takes me to our situation as a company at the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. Honestly, we thought that our business was so conventional and so complicated with multiple moving parts that it was just not going to be possible for us to run our global business remotely. Of course, the perception shift from the impossible to the possible had to happen. The mindset change for us was crucial for our survival. And you know what? Absolutely anything is possible if you put your mind to do it. A lot of time what holds people back is their own perception of things, right? We often faced that perception gap in our struggle with COVID-19 and its ongoing complication in our everyday operation. So how did we respond? How did we bridge that gap? Well, we all tapped into our ability to adapt, to be agile, to survive, to resist, and to find new ways. At Fresh Del Monte, we found ourselves able to make swift changes despite being a massive global business. Our administrative staff went to remote working in a matter of days. And this was something we never before thought was possible. But we did it, and we are still doing it, and have not missed a beat since. During that critical time, we understood that more than ever, we had to protect the safety and well-being of our employees and certainly our frontliners, while at the same time, do what we need to do to maintain business continuity and deliver an uninterrupted supply of fresh fruit and vegetable, safe, ready, and available from the farms to our customers. We had to take immediate steps to adjust our business processes and procedures to keep the farms, the packing facilities, the production, the vessels, the inland transportation, and our distribution centers open. We learned quickly that the requirements were what the requirements were and adapted immediately by implementing all the necessary safety measures, including applying safe distancing, reorganizing the number of employees in farms, packing houses, port operations, throughout the whole supply chain, while always, again, ensuring business continuity. We even organize our teams with respect to their proximity to the job and their job responsibility within the production shift to minimize the casualty if exposed to infection. So people that typically work in groups of 20, as an example, were subdivided by groups of 5. By keeping smaller working units together, we could flexibly remove that unit of 5 people if there's an exposure scenario, instead of removing all the 20 on that shift and block the shift. That system worked to keep us supplying our customers at all times. What did we learn? We learned we are capable of more than we think. We learned that we put limitations on ourselves through our habits and beliefs and through our public enemy number 1, our comfort zone. We learned to act, to innovate, to think outside the box. But before our backs are against the wall and we are then forced to do so in a reactive way. In our business environment, crops will not wait when you are ready to harvest them. They either get harvested or they get spoiled. On the other hand, our customers cannot wait until we get around to delivering the products. They will either find another supplier or go out of business. We learned to bridge the gap by adjusting our mindset and shifting our beliefs from a traditional way of thinking with all the limitations that it means to a more dynamic way. That self-made reality can either be the bridge you need or it can be the barrier that leaves you behind. You may remember that in the beginning of the COVID pandemic, a lot of processing facilities in the US had to shut down and send hundreds of people home. We never did. We kept closing and reopening parts of our facilities, shifting people around, sending people home in isolation until they could come back. But we maintained our business and kept it alive. In fact, we continued throughout the pandemic, delivering on our promise. That perception for us became our reality. So what is next? How do we bridge the gap between last year, this year, and the many years to come? Obviously, we're not going to keep running in survival mode forever. This is simply unrealistic. Henry Ford said, "Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right." It emphasizes how much attitude determines success or failure. It is absolutely true. If you convince yourself you cannot do something, it will never happen. So mindset matters the most. In 2021, having learned the hard lessons of 2020, we know we can be more flexible and adaptable. We know we can overcome adversity because we are willing and able to do it with our new mindset. We discovered in ourselves an awareness that we could be doing things differently, that we can get out of our comfort zone and our business will continue to prosper. We felt emboldened to embark on several new projects within the pandemic, outside of our core competencies like e-commerce, where we discovered a completely new universe where we excelled as well. So, what is the moral of the story? It is to not wait until your back is against the wall to embrace change. Start building and bridging your individual perception gaps now. First, by recognizing they exist. Learn what you need to learn to see beyond your initial perception. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that is honestly the only way to change and to evolve. And by the way, humanity never evolves in a comfortable state. 2020 showed us that life can and will change overnight. So the question for us is, what do we make of it? And what do we become from this experience? The call for action is for all of us. How do we use this experience of the last 12 months? And how do you become the person you want to become? I tell my kids that 2020 is their war. Just like my generation and other generation before us went through a different kind of war. Hopefully, they will never go through what we did. But I certainly do not want them to walk away from the reality of what we have experienced, what we took for granted, and what could very well be gone in the future. If it's water, electricity, food, clean air, whatever it may be, ask yourself if you're willing to watch it disappear or if you're willing to adapt in order to keep it around. Because whether or not you believe it, things will change. They will do so anyway. They do so all the time. Remember, life is never a straight line from start to finish. Sometimes you can see the finish line, many times you cannot. My life, as it started back in Lebanon, is today a long twisted path from where I was supposed to be. Since that moment in '85, when I left home, my life's changed forever, regardless of all the dreams, the hopes, and the thoughts I had prior to my departure. Your lives, as you look at it today, will change too. This pandemic will have been a huge part of it. When someone asks you what you see yourself doing in 10 years, know that the answer will probably change 10 more times as the years roll by. I started my career as an electrical engineer working for a power company, and now I lead a $4.5 billion company in produce. If you truly want to bridge the gap between failure and success, between being comfortable and actually growing, between challenge and solution, the answer is the same. Adjust your perception. Put in the effort, and the reality will change to meet your expectations. I want to thank you for this fantastic opportunity to share with you those few minutes of reality. Thank you for listening, and good luck on your choices and future endeavors to bridge the gap.